Marriott PDG fellow Rotarians, allow me to invite our first speaker. Our first speaker is Rotarian Emanuela Abua. She is a phenomenal Rotarian, one who really brings the word Rotarians in action to bear on her community. She's an author, she's a trainer, a human resource and marketing specialist. She's a founder and CEO of Transolution Services Africa Limited that provides a lot of training and development for clients across Africa. They also provide a lot of translation services. With that, you will know that Emanuela is bilingual or multilingual. She speaks English and French impeccably, and perhaps many more languages that are yet to be listed. In 2019, she was adjudged the winner of Kenya's Best in Education and Training Award. President Marriott, fellow Rotarians, allow me to kindly invite Rotarian Emanuela Abua to give us her presentation on education beyond classrooms, Pan Africanism, religion, and self-actualization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rotarian Victor. Mr. President, fellow Rotarians and guests, good evening. It is such a pleasure having to fellowship with you today and talk to you about a topic that is very close to my heart. Now, before we get into today's conversation, I would like us to start with a short poll by answering the following question. When you think about the future of Africa, are you content, worried, or unsure? If you could kindly click on the option that best describes your emotion, we can pursue our conversation. Interesting. Thank you very much as responses continue to come in. The objective of this assignment was to basically help us think outside the box when it comes to education. There is this old adage that reminds us that young people are our future leaders. They are our future governors, our future presidents, our future ministers, head of institutions, and so forth. So if you are a parent or a guardian today, and you have clicked on worried or unsure as your option, allow me to challenge you to ask yourself this pertinent question. What am I currently doing to ensure that my young ones get the right foundation to take up the leadership position that they will eventually have to take? Since the coronavirus and since the closure of schools in Kenya in particular, parents have been wondering what to do with their children. And this is as a result of the educational gap that they have witnessed. However, if we continue to perceive education as a school building, a classroom, teachers with a curriculum to follow, I guess it is high time that we redefine what education is all about. I'm going to start sharing my screen. So please let me know if you can see my slides. Are you seeing my slides?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. My grandmother was a teacher. Teaching was not just a profession, but she genuinely believed in the importance of education. She constantly reminded me that my first husband should be my education, that every dream, every cars and houses that I wanted to own would be found at the end of my education. And so I started my journey in school, high school, and I remember the smile over my face when I got to university, just at the thought that I was coming to the end of my journey. However, what I considered the end of my journey was simply the beginning of my life. I had Victor.
Yes, we can hear you.
No, I am just unable to move on. Okay. So what I thought was the end of my journey ended up the beginning of my life. I had an educated mind, but I did not have a formed mind to tackle the challenges that life would eventually throw at me. More than 2 decades later, these are the same challenges that young people are still facing. But unlike in the past, where we grew up in a world where there was resilience and with a community type of environment, young people are currently doing life alone. They are confused. And this has been portrayed in the last 4 years as well, due to the high suicidal rate among young people. So today I will be speaking to you about education beyond classroom with an emphasis on self-actualization, religion, and Pan Africanism. Please note that this is quite a broad topic, and because our time today is limited, I will just be giving you some snippets to begin the conversation so that we can begin to perceive education in a different manner, understand our role as parents in enhancing the leadership skills of our children. I will also be sharing some tips so that you can already start applying in your own family. Self-actualization. In 1943, Abraham Maslow, a psychologist, came up with a model known as the hierarchy of needs. Maslow believes that human beings have different needs that must be fulfilled before you reach the highest psychological development, which he referred as self-actualization. This is the ability to achieve one's full potential. By no means does it mean achieving perfectionism for your young ones, but living a life of fulfillment away from self, but into inviting or investing into others. So how can you then help your young ones achieve self-actualization? Number one is to appreciate the interdependence of those needs. As you can see from the diagram, Maslow believed that the lowest level is the basic needs that any young person needs to be able to achieve a fulfilled life. And this is exactly where most of us as parents do an incredible job. We work hard to provide food, water, shelter, security, and safety for our families and mostly our young ones. But as you can see further down, we talk about the psychological needs. And this is the love, appreciation from not only friends, but family. The respect for your young ones and this feeling of accomplishment. And this is where most of my young ones, most of my clients seems to have issues. So it is important to understand as well as Rotarians in our own family that we cannot talk about helping our young ones achieving self-actualization without covering the basic and psychological needs. The second is to provide a good balance in the way that we give love and attention. We must give enough to help increase the self-esteem and confidence of our young ones to face life, but with a firm foundation to teach them society standards so that they do not grow up feeling entitled. Most importantly, we need to understand and appreciate that self-actualization in young people is rare, but we can pave the way for young people to become effective leaders. Religion. Religion encompasses different belief systems. However, my point today will be based on Christianity, since I am a Christian and I'm assuming that most of us are. There was a research that was conducted on Christianity in Africa, and it says that Africa is the second largest continent with most Christians and holds the first position when it comes to having the most committed Christian in the world. Unfortunately, this commitment has sometimes been used as a cover-up for hard work. We must teach our young ones that prayer and reading the Bible alone will not make them reach or achieve their goals. As a matter of fact, some of the wealthiest countries in the world are not Christian. Nothing can ever substitute hard work. No one becomes a millionaire overnight. It takes a lot of hard work and commitment. And so religion without action does not give you what you want. My last point is Pan Africanism. Some few years ago, my son came back from school looking very perplexed. And upon asking him what was wrong, he told me that one of his friends told him that he was going to become a murderer because he was born and raised in South Africa. The friend in question was referring to xenophobia in South Africa. And even though this has momentarily stopped, we know that it will eventually come back. And it is not just in South Africa, it is in major countries in Africa. We must teach our young ones to move from the ideology of xenophobia and embrace Pan-Africanism to strengthen our bonds as Christians. As a parent, you can help achieve that by stopping to idolize the West and be proud of our history. We need to stop perceiving Africa as a troubled continent and other continents as lands of opportunities. We must stop acting like victims of life and be grateful with the blessing that God has given us by being African while working towards what we can become. Number 2, we need to move from this buy Zambia, build Zambia mentality to buy Africa and build Africa. I must say that I get really hurt when a country such as Kenya imports palm oil from Malaysia. And yet, most of our countries in West Africa produce palm oil. As I indicated earlier, making this continent better is learning to invest in it and expanding our infrastructure. We must also stop living in the glory of people such as Thomas Sankara or Nelson Mandela. And we must teach our young ones to become them. People who fight for their countries, people who invest in the continent, people who are willing to change the status quo. And all this does not require a teacher or a school building, but rather parental guidance and involvement. So what is it again? How can we use this information in our Rotary clubs? We must learn to promote self-actualization in our own families. I like the late Mother Teresa quote when she says that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Because she understood that the foundation that we provide our families will eventually have an impact on our society. So as Rotarians, we need to promote this in our own families before we can even think about our own clubs. We must also learn, or rather include this element in mentorship, in our mentorship program. Beyond just talking about mathematics, biology, we must learn, we must start having conversation with our young ones to propel their leadership even further. Make them think about the importance and the role that they need to play in moving this continent further. Most importantly, as Rotarians, we must uphold the highest standards of leadership that young people can model. Young people need African role models. people that they can admire and look up to. And why can't this whole model be Rotarians? Thank you.